Hello and good evening, everyone. It's Cheryl Leon from the Business of Property from Property Development Australia. We have a super special Business of Property today because I actually have my guests here, 𝐁𝐜𝐿 and 𝐉𝐨𝐞𝐿, who are here with me. We are in the sunny Sunshine Coast, and I thought let's have everyone in our little room here and have a bit of a chat. These guys, I've loved watching these guys and their journey and how they've been creating that financial freedom through your own small-scale developments and also co-living. So I love to hear your journey to share with us. And I know particularly co-living in Queensland has had some pretty big changes as of
recently.
Is it today?
Came in on Friday.
Super interesting. So these guys are all across it. But to start off with, let's talk a bit about your journey. How did you get into property and development?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think you started first.
Yeah, it was definitely me. I started investing in 2012. Didn't really know a whole deal, but it was, for me, it was just, I loved positive cash flow and I loved that a property could pay for itself.
Yeah.
And so went searching and went to a little regional town of New South Wales and bought my first property. I thought that was pretty good. And then from there, went on and bought a couple more. I used a buyer's agent to buy actually two. I bought another one here on the Sunshine Coast, which we're developing now. And then, things were sort of happening, I guess, a little slower than I would like. I get itchy feet pretty quick. So we joined an education program. And then we bought another one. You bought a PPR for you.
Yeah, I bought my PPR and it was on the coast and we decided we were going to do a reno flip for that one, and that was really good. We just did like an entry level and we lived in it and we got our hands dirty, and that was like really my first intro to property. But for me it was like a big, like I was looking into it before, but I couldn't make sense of it until we got the education because nothing was really stacking up the numbers wise. Didn't know what I was looking for, but I was like, these don't really make sense. We really, I guess we threw ourselves in the deep end at that point. And we really we did some reno flips, and then we started looking into what you owned in terms of, you had a really good deal in his portfolio to develop.
And is that sort of just a gradual moving from renos to smaller scale developments, and was it like a subdivision type thing?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely try to hand at the renos and conversions, and when I mean conversions to 𝐉𝐨𝐞𝐿 or co-living. So we really sort of try to hand on that, and then our first little development was a little duplex site here on the Sunshine Coast. And we bought the land for 190 grand.
Oh my goodness.
And I think the build cost was for 440K, double story duplex.
How long ago was this?
This was in 2008.
We bought it end of 2018.
2018.
That long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. No.
Oh my goodness. Well, average prices in the Sunshine Coast now about $1 million.
Definitely.
And so you guys bought well.
Definitely bought well. Obviously due diligence comes into it and everything, and being able to maximize the site. So, a lot of people would look at that site and say, well, you'd probably just put a house on it. But being able to really maximize it, get a duplex on there, strata title it, now we've got two houses, and we incorporated co-living over that. It was a really good deal. We were all in for about 700K. Strata titled it, refinanced at 900.
900. So once it was strata titled,
we got
for both of them. So
450 aside.
You kept them both.
We kept them both, co-living over the top. And they rent for $980 a side. $980 a side.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so with the co-living, is that in Sunshine Coast Council?
It is in Sunshine Coast Council, yeah.
And is it similar to Brisbane City Council? So those of you that have done co-living in Brisbane City Council, you may be familiar, it's 5 bedrooms and 5 little en-suites. Can you do the same in the Sunshine Coast?
You can now. So you couldn't in the past. We designed them in a particular way. All our developments that we've done to date, we've designed them hoping that what's just come in would come in. So we've done co-living. There's a bit of a difference between co-living and full-blown 1B 𝐉𝐨𝐞𝐿. So we've designed them all as co-living, and now since on Friday, Queensland government just came out, and you can now do under exempt development five people, 5 rooms in one house. So there's a few things that we need to clear up in terms of zoning and car parking and a few other things. But all ours are ready to go. Hopefully, as long as the zoning and everything lines up, we'll be good.
So does that mean you're going to go back to these properties that you have now and add how many more rooms?
We won't add any rooms. It's more around the class of building.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we may not. The problem with what they've done is they've changed the rules to turn it into exempt development, which is awesome. However, there's still the issue around infrastructure charges, and so some councils in Southeast Queensland are charging by the room. When you flick over to a 1B building, they're charging by the room. It comes under, it's due to the suite definition, and the next step we need to do is get that suite definition changed so that you could have a household of 5 people here and you only pay your 29 grand of council contributions, whereas council want to charge $10,000 to $20,000 per room of council contributions. When the load on the infrastructure is exactly the same with a 5-person house whereas it's a 4-bed or a 5-bed rooming accom. So trying to get that sorted is the next step, because it's affordable accommodation that we're trying to create, but they're not making it affordable to be able to create it.
So talk a little bit about going back to your developments and how you guys, and then there's a real focus on cash flow, but also in terms of your developments, you've almost sort of stack them so that you can get equity as well as cash flow.
Definitely talk about that.
Definitely. So I guess in our journey, a big thing for us was getting really clear on what we actually wanted to achieve, because as you know, and as we all know, there's so many different investment strategies out there, and you can do them all, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to end up where you want to be. So we really had to have a look at what are we trying to create, and for us it's always been like we want to be in a position where we're sort of free to live a really free lifestyle. That's always, and when we make decisions, it's like, okay, what's this going to allow us to do? And that's always the questions, what will this allow us to do? So once we got clear on that, we realized that, it wasn't so much about flipping. It was more about how can we hold on to property and build our portfolio and have a nice income coming in as well that allows us to continue moving forward. And it was just an evolution that we got to the point where we're like, great, we can do small scale developments, whether it's a duplex with co-living or rooming accommodation across the top, or once we started to move into subdivision, it's like, right, 1 into 2, can we sell off a portion, can we retain it all? And then started to scale up from there. And that for us was really when it started to change.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed us to do, I guess, multiple projects at once, and basically leapfrog from one end to the other.
And one of the things that people always think about with co-living is that there's not much growth, or there's not much equity that you can build in it. But it sounds like you guys have found the formula to be able to get that as well. I mean, I won't sort of go through the secret sauce. But I mean, what you're saying is that it's possible with combining development.
100%.
With the co-living on top. And then sort of doing sort of a refinance out of equity to be able to go again.
That's it.
That's exactly right. Like we always I always like the idea of holding property. It costs money to sell. Sometimes you've got to sell and it might be the better option for that particular deal, but where we can, we always try and hold, and over time, generally things will go up in value. Properties are going up in value while you sleep, so you don't have to work for that equity anymore. Being able to, it really comes down to the design and designing it in a way so that it looks good from a bank's perspective. For us, it can have multiple uses. We can rent it out to a family. We can rent it out as co-living. So it can have multiple uses moving forward. And I think that's really important. Once you step into the the larger scale rooming accommodation, even 5 in Brizzy, minimizing the amount of lenders that will
Yes.
have a policy around that and lend against it. So if you did a development just rooming accommodation, five bed, 5 bath, you might struggle to be able to extract that equity and, like you said, be able to reuse that, recycle it, and go again. So there is I guess there is a little formula to it that we've kind of got.
Yeah. And have you found, like you said, you talked a little bit about lenders, like, are you talking about residential lending, or is it sort of a quasi-commercial resi lending? Because it's quite specific when you're talking about co-living.
Yeah, definitely. So in the co-living space, the duplexes that we're talking about, you're open to all lenders. It's just a duplex. Just designed in a particular way, but it's still a duplex. When we start looking into the rooming accom, we do have a few lenders that we work with, but it's a residential loan, but it's a commercial valuation. That's the key. Definitely, and that's where you'll get your equity uplift and be able to extract some of that equity. The issue is that you've only got a small pool of lenders, whereas you don't have 100 or so lenders to choose from. You just got a small pool, but it's definitely
changing.
It's definitely changing.
There's
100%.
some early adopters that have started to do this, and I think
Yes.
even with the change that's just come in,
There'll be more lenders
coming on board.
100%.
Absolutely. When the lenders realize it's actually a less risky product
Definitely.
than even normal residential, because that used to be the case. It'd be like, if it's a rooming, they would value it less because they're like, well, no one's going to buy it.
That's exactly it. Yeah, they're concerned about that. Yeah.
And, well, in fact, because if it's a rooming and it's actually generating income, it's probably going to
Highly
rent
likely.
more than it's worth. So, interestingly, in terms of rents that you would get, say in Brisbane and somewhere else like regional Queensland or whichever, are they comparable or are they quite different? Because you sort of need to work out as well how much you're going to spend on the overall land, the land and the build to make sure it stacks up.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm interested to sort of get your thoughts around that.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's like a normal rental in a capital city or a metro area versus a regional. You're always going to get generally speaking, you're always going to get a better yield in the regional area. Probably not as much capital growth. That's up for debate at the moment. But you might get, just as an example, you might get $320 a week for a room or a micro apartment in Brisbane, and in a regional area you'll get high twos, 300 as well. So it's not that much of a difference. No. And especially now that the new legislation's come out, or it's been amended, those regional areas are going to be,
they're going to go up.
They're going to be insane. Yeah.
And so in terms of are you then focusing more on the inner city type stuff, where you sort of go, well, from a cost perspective, what's it going to cost me, is it better to then look at the regional stuff? Because not that I know, in terms of the commercial valuations, do they just look at the numbers and go, well, commercially it rents for this, so it doesn't matter how much you paid for the land, this is the return on investment type thing.
And it comes down to the investor's goals as well. So if you've got an investor that feels more secure in a capital city from a growth perspective, they might accept, okay, my yield is slightly less, but I'm more comfortable from a long-term capital growth perspective. However, if someone's just after return on investment and it's the lower you buy in and the higher the rent, it's a better return on investment. So if you're just after simple cash flow, simple return on investment, those opportunities may be better suited to you.
Definitely.
Really
just depends on the investor's goals and their budget.
And so for you guys, it sounds like your whole strategy is about really tapping in on equity in some way or form, capital and equity, and then reinvesting it investing into long-term high yield cash flow, which this is the whole thing that we're talking about, creating that financial freedom, not just from the lump sum, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, but then actually going, we're going to generate cash flow?
Yeah. So like for us, I think it's really about harvesting that equity. And so if you can manufacture growth within, whether it's just via renovation, whether it's via a subdivision or duplex building, you can manufacture that growth. Use the bank's money, so leverage. You can use the bank's money and go again. So these, like the returns that you get for the style of properties that we develop and put out there, interest rates aren't going to go up high enough for these to be anywhere near negative. So just I encourage people to leverage the bank's money in this style of investment. You know, you're not just getting your 5% yield, you're getting your 10s, 9s, 10s, 11s, sometimes higher. So
and what sort of, I mean, are they like commercial LVRs, like 60% LVR, or we're talking about residential 80%, 90%, which is huge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that just means from a return on capital perspective, you've got a huge return there.
Yeah, definitely.
Which again, you know, when I've done some numbers around this, because we've got similar sorts of developments. You look at the return on investment, you go, do I really need to go down the development path of going build to sell, when in fact, you know, we've got this option to be able to build and hold.
Build and hold. And if you can get majority of your cash back through a refinance, deals cost you nothing. You've just got a property for free that's earning you 10, 20, 30, 40 grand a year, and you just go and repeat the process.
And then start again. Listen to that. You're going to start that again, 30, 40,000. So you sort of work out, okay, what do I need to create financial freedom? And everyone's level of financial freedom is going to be different.
Absolutely.
It's like if you live in a capital city and it costs, you know, you want to go on holidays every 3 months or whatever, you might need $500,000, right? Whereas someone else might need 100 grand. And so, you know, you look at these projects that you're doing and the amount of cash flow, it's like 30, 40,000 net. Like you don't really need
that many.
That's it.
Depending on, and it depends on people's financial capacity as well. Like we don't always have to max somebody out to their total borrowing capacity on one project. You know, there could be an opportunity that's like, hey, you could probably do 2, recycle those and then go again. So, you know, not all pathways, you know, lead to the same place. There might be a better opportunity for someone rather than going, you know, one big project that performs really well. There might be an opportunity for that person to go, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then get the same outcome. So it just depends on your starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
And do people need to have serviceability from a traditional sense to be able to get into these, or can you go into it through commercial lending? No,
it is. So it really is that you need servicing, you need a job to some degree, and then that'll really determine where we look and what we're actually looking for you. But
unless you have the cash or the equity to do it,
do it outright, But it's really like I guess a goal sort of finding thing at the start, I guess, and then from there we can determine how we're going to do it, which path we're going to take.
Excellent. So going back then to this new regulation that's just been released, because that sounds incredibly exciting.
It is,
and maybe just give our audience a bit of a summary as to what it was before this and the different councils, because Brisbane City Council and even the Gold Coast and, you know, Logan and all these other places had a different rules, right? So what were those rules prior to this new regulation coming in?
So there was only 3 councils in Queensland that would allow it under accepted development. That was Brisbane, Gold Coast and Noosa. And so that really restricted all the other councils. And, you know, with the housing crisis that we've got, the rental affordability, like this is the answer. This is what's going to, you know, bring that rental demand down, and get all these singles and couples out of these family homes and into these rooming accommodations, and free up these family homes for families to move into.
I mean, what is the status of rental market at the moment?
Southeast Queensland, even in the regional areas, it's so tight. It's extremely tight.
So where are people going to?
They're going
No.
north.
Hanging
They're
out with
going
mum
north.
and dad
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
People-
way too long.
We went to on today's Tuesday. On Sunday, we went out to one of our projects. They're having some issues with NBN.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
went out and was digging a trench trying to locate this thing. And they were home. There's the young family, and we've got that one in an application with council, and we are going to be developing it. And they're just scared of
Losing their house.
yeah, losing the house, and they're like, where are we going to go? Like, they were fine about it. Like, they
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But
As if they were renting that place.
They were
they're
renting
renting
it.
that
Okay.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they've been in there maybe 6 months or something like
Yeah,
that.
they're only relatively new, and they got moved on from where they were.
Oh,
And
okay.
you know, young family, and they're just like, we just had to. And she was telling me they were in quite a nice house where they were, and for whatever reason, it got taken back. And then all they could get was the project that we're working on, and the house needs a reno. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like the most amazing tenants. They've looked after, like, it was
Yes.
immaculate.
Yes.
I've never seen a rental property
Yeah.
in the mint condition of this. Like, in the lawns, it's big. This one was 1,700 square meters, so it's got a big backyard.
Yeah.
And it
Perfectly
was
manicured.
like a golf course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just like one example of, they're like, this is all we could get, and you know, they knew what the intention is, but
Yes.
it's just a problem. And
Yeah.
people all the time we're talking to, it's just like,
Mm.
you know, let us know if you find something. People trying to get into the market as well,
Yeah.
you know, first homeowners and
Mm.
stuff like that.
Unfortunately, at some point when we are ready to develop it, they are going to have to move on. But we're going to develop that property, and we're going to open up. We're doing it's a 2 into 8.
okay.
2 into 8 lot subdivision
Yeah.
with a duplex on each one. We're going to be opening up
Oh my
8
goodness.
more family homes
Yes, absolutely.
for people to move into. So
Yes.
it's a short term, I guess, pain, but there is long term gain there.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to provide a lot
solution.
more housing,
Mm.
which just sounds like it's really incredibly needed. Because I look at it now, and you know, Brisbane prices have gone up.
Mm.
Obviously, even in the Sunshine Coast, it's gone. You know,
Yeah.
again, $1 million on average, which it's not that far off from Sydney, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Sydney's got a lot more accommodation than Queensland does. I think
Yeah.
I looked
Yeah,
at, we were looking at the count population. There's 5.3 million people in Sydney, whereas there's only about 300,000 plus in the Sunshine Coast, which means that there's a lot less accommodation
Yeah.
here as well.
That's it.
So you've got solutions in terms of singles getting access to sort of co-living.
Yeah, and couples,
And-
so
and
this has
couples,
really
yes.
opened it up. So you
Yes,
might
yes.
have a 3 or a 4 bed rooming house,
Yeah.
and we can have maximum 5 people in there. So
Oh,
now you can
okay,
have, if you've got a 3
have
bedder,
couple-
you can have 2 rooms with a couple, or in a 4 bedder, you can have
Okay.
1 room with a couple.
Because I think that's
So-
something that, you know, in Brisbane, obviously from a yield perspective, it makes more sense to do 5. But, you know, then you are limited to having singles
Just
only.
singles.
Yes.
And which is amazing because the singles market's been accommodated for,
Yeah.
but there's also couples out there
Yeah, of
that,
course,
that
yeah.
need something as well. So,
Yes, yeah.
you know, that I think it's definitely worked out to be like, okay, you know, we can design things in a way that yield really well,
Yes.
but also open it up to couples too.
And that's a good point, because we often think that we've got to maximize the number of rooms that are in a
Mhm.
co-living to get the best outcome.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, the couple market, like that means that you can have a 3-bedroom
Yep.
with 1 couple room and then extra. So it's a maximum of five people. And that goes well from a construction point of view. That should be less as well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And that's all about the numbers
The-
again.
the
So
budget.
depending on where you buy, if somebody's borrowing capacity is limited, you could go, okay, well, let's only build a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom,
Yeah.
and see, you know, it might not be as strong, but at least it gets you into the market without missing out completely.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And
there's,
far better than a standard, you know, residential rental 4-bed, 2-bath.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're looking even for a 3-bedder. You know, a standard rental might rent for $500 or $600. You're looking upward of 1,000 from a 3-bedder. So
Yeah.
your yields are so
far
much better.
superior.
Mm.
Yeah. And how you, in terms of like property management, obviously this gets asked all the time, who's going to manage these?
Yeah.
Like, is there there's special ways of managing it? Are there special property managers that are doing it in Queensland?
Yeah, it's definitely been a specialty trade. and you'll find that there'll be good ones, and there'll be ones that probably aren't quite as good, just with everything. But yeah, there's house rules and a few other things that need to be included in the management process. So having someone who's across it, I think, is really important. And yeah, we do have property managers that we put forward for all our clients.
So they're not without someone
No.
that that we would trust and recommend.
That really understands the nuances of a co-living.
Yeah, that's
property.
it. They manage all our properties, so we wouldn't put them forward if we didn't trust them. But I think it's really important. Like for us, in everything that we create, we really try and create. We'll call it a micro apartment. They're a lot easier to manage as opposed to say, a 4-bedroom house, 4-bed, 2-bathroom house, and then you've got people sharing bathrooms and sharing, the main kitchen and all that sort of stuff. So we try and create the micro apartments, and then you'll find you'll get more rent, you'll get long-term tenants, longevity, less turnover, and it's easier to manage. It's so much easier to manage. So it comes down to that design again, I think.
Fantastic. And I want to touch on the property that you guys are building for yourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's a cool little project as well. Yes, I'd love to come see it. I think I might have driven past it. There's so many cool places. So you guys have a project out in Alex Head.
Yep.
And that's a little project in itself because you're building, would you say, your dream house in a dream location? It seems like it.
Yeah, we will be. Yeah, so that's
stage 2.
It's stage 2.
That's stage 2. Oh my
Stage
goodness. Stage 2.
At the moment, we're building the investment, so we're subdividing that one. I'm doing a lot of talking. Maybe you can just talk.
You're so great at talking.
He's
He's passionate.
That's right.
Loves it.
I need a co-host.
He'll do it. So what we're doing is, and this was originally like Joel bought this house back in like 2014 because he liked it and in the location. It was like
Goodness. Wow. Okay.
It's an old shack near the beach. I love it. You talk about
I'll give you. So I was working away in the mines. I was doing 4 weeks on, 1 week off over in WA, and this my mate of mine knew that I'd been looking. I was in the market, and he said, "Look, mate, this little yellow house that he used to live in with his partner, it's up for sale." I said, "Oh, really? No worries." And anyway, I was home on R&R, came in, had a chat. I went to auction, and it got passed in at auction at 580 grand, and like it was. You couldn't see, like the backyard was so overgrown. You couldn't see the back fence. Once I got the trees cleared out the back, the fence was entirely fallen over. Like we didn't even know. And it was just really run down. Downstairs was unlivable. And so it was, a renovator's dream.
Worst house in the best street.
Anyway, it got passed in, and I ended up buying it. I paid $600K for it, and had no idea that it could be developed or anything like that. It was a house. It was
so
just
you
a
didn't
stone's throw
understand
from the beach.
The zoning or anything?
No, not at this point. No.
You just went
It
near
was
the beach.
just near the beach. Yeah, I can walk to the beach. That's awesome. And so bought that, and had a mate. I was still working 4 and 1, so I rented upstairs out, and I just put a bed in this little living area downstairs. And then a mate of mine's a builder, and he was going through some relationship troubles. I said, "Mate, you can move in downstairs if you want." And he's like, "Yeah, righto." And then him and I he renovated most of it, but we just renovated downstairs this old shack. Yeah. We created a little 2-bedroom because it was already a little 2-bedroom apartment underneath. So we just renovated that, and then lived in there for years, and then
bachelor pad.
Yeah, it was.
Pad.
And then Bianca's one of Bianca's friends was having a 25th upstairs, and then I was actually at home on that week, and so they said, "Oh, come up to the party," and then that's how we met. Bianca was upstairs, and she was telling me I should be putting a pool in the backyard. I still remember that.
You're like, you had big plans. I think you were going to build units when I met you. You're like, I'm going to build units. That's what he was going to do. So, but fast forward, a lot of research, a lot of due diligence, a lot of different scenarios playing around. We figured out the best one for us because we could have built townhouses. We could have built units.
Okay. What was its zone?
Medium density.
So we had lots of options, and for us it came into what can we finance? Do we want to live here? Like, you know, all of those things that, you know, that's where it says, you know, just because a site can be developed in one way doesn't mean it's right for that person.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to figure out what we wanted to do with it. But yeah, we came up with let's do a 1 and 2 lot subdivision. Out the back, which is stage 1, is we're building a duplex. So yeah, it's a three-story duplex with a rooftop.
Yes.
And these are purely investments. So we will live in one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll live in one. We'll be Airbnb the other one.
Yes.
And then we'll be building a house on the front lot down the track.
So we've got stacking.
Yeah.
So you've got subdivision, and then you've got a duplex, and then Airbnb
Yep.
on the other. And what's going to be in the front?
That'll end up being our house.
Oh,
Yeah. So
the
we'll build
grand home.
the grand home. Yeah.
That's
With the
stage 2.
rooftop,
With the
right?
rooftop.
Yes.
Gonna have a big rooftop up there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get ocean views from up there, so up on the rooftops. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Yep.
Sounds
Come out
great.
and have a
Buy
sticky
a
bag.
problem and create a solution. Good on you for taking the plunge. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, how large is the block? That would be enormous.
No, it's 610 squares. So we've created a
that's
310 at the back and a 300 at the front.
I like that.
So
Okay,
really
great.
maximise it. We've used every millimetre of the block at the back there.
So big cash flow on the Airbnb, and then when you rent, you'll be living in one. And once you move out of that, is that going to be another rental? as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see how the Airbnb is going.
Yes.
That's doing really well. We'll probably do the same thing. If not, we can always do a standard rental as well.
Yeah. And
So-
the location's amazing.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have any problems.
Nah, it's good.
Rooftop parties.
Definitely.
That's it.
That's where we want to be. I love it. And I love that you've been so. Look, I'm going to have to visit the site.
Yeah,
Over
definitely.
the next,
Yeah.
over the
100%.
next 2 days.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's these sorts of things where you're going, all right, first of all, stacking strategies, cash flow, a big focus on cash flow and being able to hold
Yes.
stuff as well, unless you need to sell to sort of reduce debt.
Yeah.
But it's been so cool.
And sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to sell, and that's you know to keep moving forward. You just whatever needs to happen to keep moving forward. If that means you have to sell a portion, and move forward.
Yeah, fantastic.
And depending where you're starting as well, sometimes you need to do those deals to get the equity there, so you can start to move into those strategies that you can hold. So it really depends where you're starting, what you've got, and where you want to go.
Absolutely cool. So, guys, I know you are not just doing this for yourselves, you're helping other investors and developers do as well. So tell us a little bit more about the new thing that you guys have been working on this year.
Yeah. So this year we launched Echo Property Group, which is basically we want to help other investors do exactly like what we've done for ourselves. And, we really are helping people grow their portfolios and in a way that sets them up for financial freedom. So I wouldn't say we're a standard buyer's agent.
No.
We're looking for sites that are going to maximize the potential. So whether that is you're in a position where you're after something that's really cash flow positive and it's going to, start to replace your income, we can just do straight out cash flow positive projects for you. We can do that in a new build. We can do that in a buy existing and convert. And then if you're more interested in the stacking strategy, we've opened up that door to be offering, we'll find development sites. We'll not only do the due diligence and source it on your behalf. Once it gets to the point, if you're interested, we can also execute the development on your behalf. So if it's a duplex site, we'll go through from the DA, project management, all cover construction, all the way through to the back end and help you strata title it. If it's a subdivision, it's the same thing. Once we get to the point where you've settled and acquired the property, we'll take care of everything from the DA all the way through to the execution. If there's construction, we'll cover that too.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
basically just offer a full turnkey solution for developers that are interested in this. Maybe there's a lacking confidence. If you've already got a site, or you've had some people approach us that they've got a fantastic site, but they either don't have the time or, they're trying to navigate their way through it and they're just not sure. And especially at the moment, interest rates and, there's all these extra things that they have to be mindful of that they're like, would really like some help. So, we've been able to help people that already have sites too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because there's more than one way to skin a cat. And like one of the clients that we're working with at the moment, her site, it's about 650 squares. She wanted to build 3 townhouses over it. And she engaged us. And we sat down and we did the 𝐉𝐨 on building 3 townhouses, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't yield. And I said, well, why don't we do this? And we're actually going to recreate what we're doing
Similar
here in
thing,
Alex.
yes.
Similar thing.
Yeah.
And it just worked out. It worked out so much better. The numbers looked a lot better. So there's, you mentioned it before, maximising each site's potential. That's within the budget, obviously, of the client. But
so that's good. And in particular with the co-living stuff, it's really important that you understand the regulatory requirements of that,
100%.
because it's not that you can just build a 5-bedroom house and rent each of them out. There's similarly with all the different states, you've got different classes of building and things like that as well.
Fire and safety regulations, different classes of building, and so disability access, and so having a firm understanding of what's required is really important. And like the resident safety is the utmost importance, and so making sure that you have the right class of building and that it's all up to scratch is really important.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys.
No worries.
Amazing. So good to catch up with you.
Us.
So cool. Live business of property. And if you've got questions, you'd like to reach out to these guys. They are absolute superstars. They are in the Sunshine Coast, so it's not a bad place to come and hang out. Obviously, been here way too many times.
We've seen you twice in like the last little
bit.
Yeah.
It's actually been 3 times. Shh. But we should not tell everyone. So reach out to them. Email is
hello@echoproperty.com.au,
and you're also on Facebook, so you can message
on
Facebook. They're here. They have great videos. Sometimes you see them dancing and hanging out on their
some
rooftop.
of us dancing well,
yes,
some of us not dancing very well.
I should not say who is who, but thanks everyone. Thank you everyone. Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks, Cheryl. That was awesome.
Appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next segment of the Business of Property. See you next time. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.